Okay, let's do this. Today we have Sally Conrad. She is the horse whisperer. She is the, I don't want to say magic.
She is magic.
But it's not magic, because magic is like something unreal, and she's very real.
Totally
and very
real. And
down
connected.
to earth and very connected. And
Like with
so
everything.
I don't want to give her the magic, because she's better than that. What can I say?
That's true. She is better than magic. So whatever beyond magic, that's what Sally is. Yeah, she just really, I don't know, just being in her presence.
Very calming.
Very calming.
Yeah. Very down to earth is what I can say.
And like I said to her afterwards, I'm like, you got to do an audiobook and do a compilation of all of your stories and your experiences of what you've learned about horses. Because I think that's really important, because there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of people think they're stupid. Some people, not everybody. Not everybody. I shouldn't say that.
Depends upon the handler. If you're not a heart-centered person moving with that way, you're going to only be what you represent. And if you got a little bit of meanness in you, then
you're an
not
asshole.
going to be. Exactly.
If you're an asshole, you're going to say that.
Find a very long way around.
That's true. That's true. Yes. Agreed. Yes. If you do not have a heart like the Tin Man, you will not look at horses in the way that Sally does, which is absolutely beautiful. And just, I don't know, just her presence, her energy, her ability to articulate the experiences she's had with horses and with people that have disabilities, and how she's cultivated that relationship with horses and that understanding, that symbiotic relationship type.
And the communication that she brings to all of it. So people can understand, the participants understand the horses, she can understand them, and they get this good relationship going.
Yeah.
About communication.
Pretty freaking remarkable. And all the things that Two Bear offers. Two Bear Therapeutic Riding Center. Yep. Just the breadth of services, and they're a non-for-profit.
Yes.
I so desperately cannot wait to go check out the setup, their barn.
And all the different classes. They offer a class about you getting to know not only horses, but how to feed horses, how to take care of them, how to do the groundwork, how to do all the, it's an 8-week class that they offer too.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, what's your first experience riding a horse? What was that like?
My first experience riding a horse, I can't actually remember. I think someone just put me on the back of a horse, and I was like, oh, I love
and went to
this.
a circle?
Before that, I just loved horses.
Yeah.
My mom got me little books about horses and horses' babies and horses? National Velvet. In 5th grade, I had a friend that had 2 horses, so I would go riding with her. And
on this, like out in the pasture, or like on the roads, or what did you guys do?
She had a big field.
Oh, okay. Got you. So you had some experience with horses at an early age.
Yeah.
See, I was never around horses until I was an adult. I don't think I ever remember those things at the fairgrounds where they'd hook the horses up in a circle.
Oh, like little ponies in
a circle. I think my mom told me no, I couldn't ride one. I was so disappointed. But I never was around horses until I was, I think, in my 20s. And I hate to say this, I live in Montana. I've only been on horses maybe 4 times in my entire life. So on my honeymoon, my husband signed us up in the Bahamas to ride horses on the beach, which was quite an experience, watching my husband be on the horse on the beach when the horse took off and just dove into the water with him. I was so pissed.
And on your honeymoon, he's probably like, I'm the man.
Yeah, I'm the man. I just married her, and I'm going to ride this horse off into the sunset.
And the horse is like, nope.
And he was like, what the? He was so pissed. But anyway, that was my one experience. But yeah, that's amazing that you were able to grow up and learn about the horses, what to do to get on the horse.
Oh, it was fun. I loved cleaning the stalls, as weird as it sounds. I love the smell of horses.
Oh.
I liked putting the tack on. I liked doing the brush. I like brushing them. I don't know. I just like being around them.
Yeah, they're very calming.
I can do this or I cannot.
I wish I had more opportunities, and Sally is totally brought me in to go, I need to sign up. I need to understand like what the signs to look for, as far as I don't get them. So I need to learn more about their different voices and their different ear movements and all those kind of things. So yeah, I'm anxious to get signed up for something.
Then do it. Just make a phone call, send an email.
Do it. Yeah.
Go spend some time with horses.
You're listening to the IWD 406 podcast with your hosts, Julie Walls and Kate McLaughlin.
Yay! In this podcast episode, we have Sally Conrad from Two Bear Therapeutic Riding Center. She is our guest. We will delve into Sally's impressive background and explore how she engages with children and adults through adaptive horsemanship lessons. Just like humans, horses also seek peace, safety, and comfort. Discover how Sally combines her passion for horses and her dedication to assisting people at Two Bear Therapeutic Riding Center. Without further ado, Sally Conrad.
Welcome, Sally.
Thank you so much. It is just an incredible honor to be here. Thank you. And you two are delightful. By the way, anybody else that's invited, take them up on it. It's great.
Yes. Thank you for that. That was so sweet. I appreciate that. We are so delighted to have you on the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just actually getting over a little bit of a sinus thing, and it leaves a little residual tickle. So if I sound like an old smoker, sorry, not my real voice.
We completely understand. Tis the season of sickness. It's so much fun. We're going to dive into more about you, Sally. We want to know your upbringing, just a little tidbit into where you're from originally. Did you grow up in Montana?
Did not. I was born in southeastern Colorado, where my grandparents lived. We didn't live there, but we would visit routinely. And he was a doctor, so my mom decided that would be a good place to hatch me.
And it's hatching.
Yes, I know. And it was a rural area. He was like the doctor there, so we got to see him in his wonderful capacity there, doing everything.
What kind of doctor?
He was a GP. He delivered babies. He ran the nursing home.
Wow.
He did surgery. He had been actually a MASH surgeon in Korea.
Oh,
what? He was a
That's cool.
veteran of two wars and stuff. So
yeah.
Pretty cool guy.
So he pretty much, he had to have been gone a lot.
He was gone a lot. I remember visiting there as not an infant, but an older kid.
Yeah.
And get the phone call in the middle of the night, hear his little black bag that was sitting right by the door, and off he went.
That's cool.
That's how old I am.
You're not that old, Sally.
Just for the record, I turned 69 back in March.
Yep. Wonderful.
So, I know.
Yes, March. So happy belated birthday.
Yeah, thank you. I celebrate the whole year. Just the way
For sure should.
Why not?
I do a whole month.
Yeah. But anyway, from there, we lived in suburban Chicago, then in suburban New York City, and then came back to suburban Chicago. So I was a suburbanite.
Which part of Chicago?
Barrington. It was a northwest suburb.
Very familiar. I'm mid Illinois girl.
Oh, yeah?
Peoria.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm very familiar with Barrington. Here I am in Montana.
It's what the good people do.
Exactly. We all migrate out west.
Do. I tell you what, the first time we would take car trips and stuff, and the first time I came to Montana, I was probably 11, 12, something like that. And I looked at it, I said, oh, someday I'm coming back and I'm never going to leave.
Wow.
I knew then.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It pulled me. And when I came back, it was in my early 30s. And here I am.
It does have a draw. Montana does have a draw. Yeah. We keep hearing
you
that
can't
over.
help but land here and be like, wow.
Yeah. And it's so vastly different from the western to the eastern to the southern part. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about it. It's like you go for a drive, because everything is a drive here.
Yes.
Like, I need to go get groceries. It's 2 hours away. But yeah, every part of Montana is just absolutely amazing. And Illinois has got its benefits.
Oh, beautiful.
Colorado is amazing too. Mm-hmm. And New York, so much fun. You've got such a diverse background.
And I used to talk like this. I had a great New York accent. I don't talk funny. You talk funny. So did that. Near Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a good accent. But we moved back to Illinois then in, fourth grade, but between third and fourth grade. But the important part is here I had this very mildly urban upbringing, and yet my first word was mommy and my second one was horse. Or pony.
Wow.
Well, nobody knows where it came from.
Oh, wow.
Nobody.
But you didn't have a horse?
Diving into that.
Oh, no. And there were no horses around either.
Wow.
Yeah. Personally, I think it's genetic.
Really?
I do. There's a little smattering of evidence that talks about how horses, and if you look at any of the relationship between animals that are especially close to humans, and the two in particular are dogs and horses. So not cultivated as much for food or for their resources like sheep with wool, but they have a relationship. They seem to seek a relationship. And there is some evidence just starting up where they're looking at genetic differences that happened when horses began to be used for riding, because they were cultivated for meat and for milk a long time ago.
Wow.
Long time ago.
Interesting.
But when they started to ride them, they can tell from the skeletons, of the fossil record skeletons, by the way the backbones were. Because with the weight of a rider,
can see
it's
them
going
change.
to change. They could see it change, a little arthritis sometimes. And then also the way that their mouths were, their jaws were. If there was a bit lying by their teeth, they could see some wear signs. So they were pretty used to looking at this stuff. But at the same time, they noticed that horses before that era and horses after that era had a slightly different genetic makeup.
Really?
Yeah, and this is early days in this research.
Wow.
Early days. And the horses and dogs in the same way figured out there's a real benefit to being around humans. Here we are, these little weak, floppy, hairless things, but we've got these great big old massive prefrontal cortexes that can solve problems and lay out food for the winter, like that. And it makes me wonder that as the animals changed, possibly, again, early days, to be more beneficial to us and decide to be with us, and of course, some selective breeding that went along with that. The calmer, less aggressive ones were brought in and bred, and the ones that were aggressive and wanted to eat your young, they got let go.
Wow. I can't even envision a horse being aggressive like that.
So aggression, especially with prey animals, typically comes from a couple of areas, but typically it's fear. It's a fight, flight, freeze, right? And so that's what you would see. And ones that would go pretty quickly to fight, those would be the ones that were just like, yeah, maybe not you to be around. But it makes us wonder, too, as the horses changed in conjunction with us, did we change being in collaboration with them? So
I agree, because there's some huge fascination with horses and humans, from unicorns to senators. I mean,
right?
Just how these mythical things have created, but the relationship with horses is always this Pegasus. The relationship with horses has been part of our
existence,
humanity, and myth and stuff too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's blowing my mind. Seriously.
Yeah, and one of the things that goes along with that too is people that, and I'm not horse love shaming anybody here, because there are people out there that horses are nice, they're pretty, magnificent creatures, and they are. But the ones that aren't drawn into them will look at them and think perhaps they're big, they're strong, they're fast, they change the course of the world through warfare. The advent of the stirrup on a saddle to stabilize the rider changed everything. Yeah. All of these kinds of things, they can look at the horse and this kind of collaboration, but they're thinking of them as the big furry four-wheeler.
Transportation only.
Transportation and work, pull the plow, run real fast, those kinds of things, carry a lot of weight, whatever. But for some of us that have, and I'm going to jump ahead, maybe I'll be ahead of my time, the horsey gene. I'm just going to call it that, because the horse people, the ones that just drawn to them and can't get enough, they and me, have this feeling of there is something in them that makes me so much of a better person. And I'm not sure exactly what that is. Part of it, yes, it's interspecies communication. It's going to make any person better to get outside of yourself, right? And to try and connect with another being. It's something more than that. It's something more.
There is. Horses always make me feel calm. If there's some sitting by the fence, I'll wait and see if they want to come up to me. And if they let me touch them, I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me touch you.
And they have these great big nervous systems, and they have these pretty big hearts. Their heart rate is much slower than ours. And as mammals, we tend to want to sync up with their heart rate. When their heart is going 28 to 44 beats a minute, mine's going, on a good day, I've got a low heart rate. If I'm real calm, it's in the 50s. And if I'm jacked up, it'll be in the 80s. And just getting around them and breathe out, put your hand on them, and you can feel it even right now.
Yeah.
Down we go, right?
Yeah. I'm like, let me look at my heart rate on my phone. It's usually running in the 80s. No, that is so true. Yep. And I do believe we're on the cutting edge of quantum science for health and wellness and everything else. So I think it's really fascinating. And we're going to get into the therapeutic horsemanship piece.
Yes.
But I want to back up just a little bit.
Sure.
So you say you had the horse gene, which I think is really, we could have a whole nother.
I'll be back if you want.
No, I'm not. You need to come back because we need to explore this even more. But you were believing that this is going to be a part of your life at a young age. But how did you then, were you then telling your parents, I want to do something with horses? You wanted to get involved with horses in your teens. Walk us through that process and how you became involved with horses.
Basically, I was an unrelenting little nag, and I
persistent.
Yes.
Persistence, yes.
Tenacious.
Let's see. Stubborn can be a good quality when it's working in the right area. Anyway, I was all of those things.
Okay.
To the point where, as a small child, if the book didn't have a realistic-looking horse, wasn't interested. If the show or the movie didn't have horses, So I was very focused on that. And yes, I did other things too, but it makes you wonder a little bit. But the whole point with that is that they knew that this would have to be a possibility, that there was this real, like a biological hunger. And when we moved from New York to suburb of Chicago, Barrington is its name, and it was more of a rural area.
Wow, it's not now.
No, it is not now. It was then.
Yeah.
And they said, yes, you can get a horse. I got my first horse when I was just 12, and my parents over and over said, best money we ever spent. We knew where you were, what you were doing, and who you were with.
Yeah, that's true.
And I rode every single day, mostly by myself, just the horse and me. Wasn't involved in clubs or anything. I just needed to be with that horse. And he did wonderful things for me, taught me a lot. I developed a few bad habits too because I was by myself, but figured things out, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, he was my first horse, Challenger.
His name was Challenger?
Challenger, and he was.
He was a challenge.
A little.
Did he challenge you?
He absolutely did. He wasn't like bucking, running around, things like that. But he would just like, do you mean it? Really?
Oh.
You want me to canter? Really? You want me to do that? Yeah. What are you going to do about it?
Wait, did you know how to do all these things, or did you just work with them and then figure it out as you went?
I had some riding lessons, so I had just enough to be dangerous.
Enough to be dangerous.
But as a kid, and this will bring me to another point later on, but I'll come back to it. One of the reasons that we've got so much anxiety going, I think, in our young people is they didn't have the opportunity that I had. I was a feral child. I went to school and I had home at 5 o'clock, and 5:01 you were late. So I had responsibility. And this is as a kid, right? Little kid. But at the same time, I'd go out the door, bye, Mom, and it'd be on a weekend. She's, where are you going? I'm going to go ride. Okay. When will you be back? About 5 hours. She had no idea where I was, but she knew who I was with.
But she trusted.
She had to.
Yeah.
That was just what we did back then.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, I'm experimenting. I'm popping over little fences and things like that. Oh, what's going to go wrong here? You could fall off, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Just hold on tighter next time. You figure things out. Kids need risky play. They have to take some risk. They have to have enough risk where they can be scrapes and bruises. That would be your consequence. I don't particularly want them to get harmed.
Yeah.
But if you get hurt a little bit, you'll learn.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think I am just so incredibly fortunate for the upbringing I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we are nervous parents now. I remember my mom had a drawer of Band-Aids where all of us were coming in with like gravel marks all up and down our legs from all the biking over you remember we used to make those makeshift jumps, all the crazy stuff we did, but we'd come in all bloodied up right when the streetlights went on.
Yep.
She just bandaged. Now it's I even do it with I be honest, I baby my kids. So I'm part of that, maybe that
Let them
sensitivity.
run into stuff. Get them working with sticks and boxes and rocks. Stand back and see
my
what
middle
happens.
boy, it worried me just a tiny bit because he's already like klutzy. So.
Oh, no.
That's okay. Then
that's
they
true.
learn. Like
That
my
is true.
son they were little, like 3 and 4 climbing trees, and people would be like, what are you doing? Let them. I'm like, if they can get up the tree, then they're going to have to learn how to get down.
Yeah.
And I'm standing here and watching. They get all nervous.
Ready?
I'm
Get your arms out like this, ready to catch them?
I'm watching them, so I can see what they're doing.
I
But
love that.
Yep.
it was like, hey, they'll figure it out.
They will.
That's true, though. I love this conversation because it's enlightening. It's for sure enlightening.
So real quick, tree climbing thing
Yeah.
is that my kids, I have 4 daughters. I work with the youngest one too, which is just a hoot. But in our yard, we had these great big 30, 40-foot trees, like big spruces. And one day it came, and the top on one of them had broken off in the wind. So it was pretty thick at the very top. One day I'm looking up, and there they are at the top of the tree waving at me. This is way the heck up there. And these are little kids, 8, 10, 12. These are littleish kids. And I'm looking at that thinking, okay, you got some choices here, Sal. Don't panic them. Don't do that. And I just said, okay, here's the rules. Don't fall. That'll be bad. But the other thing is you got to have 3 points on at all time. 1 hand and 2 feet, or 2 hands and 1 foot. Do not just let go and try anything, because that's just stupid. And if you get up, you're going to have to get yourself down. I'm not coming for you.
Yeah.
And they all did.
Good.
The amazing thing about being on the top of an evergreen like that, which I did once as a kid too, is when the wind blows, the whole tree's moving and you're definitely holding on.
Yeah. It's like a wild ride.
It is. Risky childhood, man. The right kind of risk.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move into your compassion. I love when we first met you, I love your empathy. I love how you have such a warm presence. And I feel like that wasn't, I'm sure that's just who you are. But when did you become involved or around kids that have disabilities? Was it early on? Did you develop that compassion early on?
Yes, I evidently I did. You know, it wasn't anything I thought about or that my parents sat me down. Now you need to be nice to. Although they did do that, they were very accepting. And back in the days, again, you know, I mean, this would have been in the very early 60s. Right. And, you know, where we were, it was very homogenous. It was, you know, white middle class, lower middle class America is where at that point. And so there wasn't a lot of diversity when it came to skin color, all race. We had some people of Jewish faith and things, but you just didn't see a lot of anything, right? And at the time, too, anybody with severe disabilities was, and to that meant, what that meant to people then was like if they could not pretty much get along in society, they were institutionalized. There were special schools and things like that.
Yes.
So I didn't have a lot of exposure, but I do remember when we would leave our town, and my mom and dad both, if we would see people that looked different than we did, they would just, they're just people. You know, you treat them with respect, just like you want them to treat you. They set that example, and that bar was always very high. But I had a little friend in grade school. This was in Pelham, New York. We called him Paulie. His name was Paul. And you know, if I'm remembering him correctly, there's possibly Down syndrome, but there was something going on with him. Quite high functioning because he could be in school. He was very uncoordinated. He stumbled a lot. He talked slowly. It was hard to catch on. For some kids, it was hard to play with him because if the play went fast, like you're playing square ball or something like that, he couldn't do it. But I liked him. He was kind, he was sweet, and he was fun, so I would play with him all the time. And there was, at one point, his mom called, my mom, and I don't know how they made this connection. They didn't know each other. But she asked my mom if I could come over and play with him at one point, because I was the only kid in school he ever talked about that was a friend, right?
Yeah.
So she called up, and anyway, and evidently it was a something for their family. And to me, he's just Paulie. But we had two things that happened. Once we were playing a game, and this was with the whole class in recess, and it's been first grade maybe. And Paulie is next to me, and we're all holding hands in a big circle. And everybody go this way. Now everybody go that way. And he didn't react quickly. And when we turned, he got pushed. He stepped on me, and he sprained my ankle. And he felt so bad. And I remember, because I'm crying, because you do that. And it's just, he didn't mean it. It's Paulie. He can't help it. And to me, that was just him. But anyway, I also had a little run-in. Can I talk about churches here?
Yeah, that's the part I want to hear that story
right.
again. I love that story.
Oh, my goodness. So there I was. Everybody gets to do what they want when it comes to their faith. This is what I did.
Right.
I was raised Catholic, a good Irish Catholic girl, and I remember being in second grade, and I think it was in second grade, and it was in catechism class. I did not go to Catholic school. This was just once a week to get you ready for all the other things that they do. And the nun was talking about sin, and she was talking about, you got your mortal sins, those are the ones, and you got your murder and all these horrible things, and you're in big trouble with those. Back in the time, we had cardinal sins, too. I think they've done away with the cardinal sins. Oh. I'm not sure about that. But then you've got your venial sins, too, and those are the little ones, little white ones.
Little tiny ones, yes.
Stuck my hand in the air, and I said, okay, where's the list? Venial for me, from now on, I'm going just venial, sticking with the V. And she said, there is no list. I'm like, how do people know? And she said, you just use common sense. And the first thing I thought about was Paulie. I said, he has no common sense. What kind of a God would do this? And I don't think I believe this. Right. And at that point, I went through the motions, but I'm like, no, this is not the answer. Whatever this is, if that's how they feel, this is not the answer, because this isn't everybody. And God made Paulie the same way that he made me. Oh, that's not right.
Yeah.
I didn't say it wasn't fair. I just said it wasn't right.
Yes. Sometimes there's just really, I hate to say it, but really terrible teachers.
There are. And perhaps there was a better, but we're in second grade. What kind of a big thing's going to come up?
Yes.
How can Jesus be a baby and a grown man in the same year?
Yeah, I exactly. I'm going to... Sorry. That was slow to the uptake, but I love that. I think it's funny because I did catechism classes, youth group and all that through the Catholic Church. And I remember it was like this severity of different types of nuns, right? The nuns taught all the classes. And we had Sister Kathleen, God bless her soul. She's passed. And then I remember, I think we had Sister Maria Claire. And Sister Maria Claire was the sweet, kindest, nicest person. But then Sister Catherine would put fire and brimstone. I remember in second grade being told I was going to be in purgatory for X period of time. I remember going home and being terrified and I had nightmares as a kid. And my mom goes, "Damn it, Julie." She swore. She goes, "She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. You are not going to be in purgatory." So we have these, there's some beautiful ones and some that are just, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. And part of it is, I think that in every institution, I don't care what it is, if you lose the main thing, then everything else just starts falling apart.
It does.
Love.
That's right. Yes. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I had some parallels there. Go ahead.
I applaud you. And I applaud your mother.
Thank you.
Wise mother.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say later on in high school, I had opportunities to work with some teens from a group home. So again, these were the institutionalized kids. And I think it was a youth group again. I was out of the Catholic Church. Was it them? No, it was my German club. So yeah, German club they would have dances once or twice a year, and they had an affiliation with this group home. And they said, all you have to do is show up and dance. That's all you got to do. Talk to the kids, dance. They are so fun. I would say in that group, probably 80% had Down syndrome. Okay. I do remember that. Dancing fools. I tell you what, that music get on and they're just going and going.
I love it.
And I was a dancer in high school, and I was just like, I found my people.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. Oh, so much joy too.
It was so much fun. And I think I remember thinking about Polly back with them, and some could speak really quite well, some not so much, but you could see the want of connection in their eyes. Yeah. And if they would see you and you're just looking at them like, "Hi," and "How's it going?" And they're just right with you. And it was adorable. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it was really fun.
That is wonderful. So then transition into, how did you go about, from high school, did you go into horsemanship? Walk us through your professional journey.
Okay. No, I did not. I did. Okay, backing up. Anyway, I had a horse all through high school, and I rode all the time. Yeah. Kept the horse, especially the second one, Pawnee, I kept him at a boarding facility that wasn't too far from my place, and it wasn't a fancy show stable at all. It was very much a little punk and roller kind of a place, but had an indoor arena and made friends and had a variety of friends of different ages. And of course, the thing that brought us together the most was the love of the horses. Mm-hmm. People that really enjoy showing, kind of to me, a little bit of a different breed of cat. Yeah. They have a goal in mind. It was very different than mine. I just wanted to be with my horse. That's what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And my horsemanship improved, and I don't know how, it just did. I read.
Is the difference because they're not as connected?
They have if the horse, put it this way, the horse has got its own ideas about stuff, right? And the horse also doesn't speak our language. So I can come up to that horse and say, "Buddy, this is what I want to work on today." Say I'm working in dressage, which is it's not stylized, but it's very specific, kind of horsey gymnastics.
And the specific stepping, though, very their specific. Feet are fancy moving.
Oh, they're very fancy moving, but it requires them to be incredibly flexible, incredibly powerful, incredibly attuned to their rider. If they're going to do this correctly, it was actually based in warfare. This is what mounted soldiers would want from their horses. Charge in there, stop, turn on a dime, think about where I want you to go.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah. That was the beginnings of that. Okay. And then, of course, we don't do that too much anymore. Right. So it has just gone into a very stylized sport. But anyway, so say you've got somebody that they're going to work on dressage, and they're walking into the arena. And they're thinking, okay, in 2 weeks, I've got a pretty big show, and I want to make sure that you are able to be up into my hands and powerfully moving from the hind end, pushing forward so you have all this energy, that beautiful fancy stepping, these sideways motions called lateral motions that they do. And I want you to, and we're really going to work on our half pass, which is this rather advanced for a horse, a maneuver where they're actually at a trot and curved in the direction of travel and going on a big diagonal. Their feet cross over in a very specific way.
I've never seen this.
It's gorgeous.
It is.
Wow.
Check it out on YouTube. It's amazing what the horses can do.
Oh, cool.
I'll get you some good sites because there's some really bad ones too.
Yeah,
But
okay.
doing all this with the horse just light in to do it correctly, you would be doing this almost with like silk threads. You're thinking, your body is actually asking, and the horse will like this, and it feels so good. But what happens if that horse that day is just like a crick in my neck, not really feeling it, and that rider gets on and just says, "You're not doing it. Here's my stick. If I give you a little couple taps with this stick, can we get this, please? We have to do this because we have 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks."
Great.
Yeah.
There's a real miss when it comes to the partnership. I mean, just in the nature of showing, you've got deadlines, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have that. And so what I had instead was I had some freedom. And yes, I would have expectations. And yes, I was a stupid kid. And I did stupid things with my horse that I have been apologizing ever since for. But I just wanted to be with my horse. And they rewarded that a lot of times. I say they because it's been more than one. I would think about doing something and they would do it. Like this?
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, is it that the energy thing? It's like
energy. Oh, it's more than that.
It's got to be.
Okay, this is how I'm as I'm reading more about it, because I love reading and I love studying about this. I love science, by the way, I really do. But there's that piece to science that says
That's lacking. There's that little magic piece that's
well, it's not there yet. I just think it's not there yet. Because
yeah.
if it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. Not all scientists are like that. There's theoretical ones, and that's good.
Right.
And I do like science. I really do. It's shown us a lot. But then going forward from that, that's shown what's been already proved. How about going forward? So one of the things I think about with horses is here I am, a predator, sitting on the back of my horse, prey, and they have accepted me, looking to me for leadership if I have shown them that they're safe to do. And my brain is attached to my spine, which is sitting on their spine, attached to their brain, and something's going on.
Yes.
Yes, something's going on. As a dancer, too, I'm not a great dancer, and certainly not now, but I taught some ballroom dance. And that idea of unspoken, no language use, what's going to happen next. And it's done physically with these tiny little movements. And the lead has to have an idea. The follow really is putty in the lead's hands. And so the lead is, man, it's a lot on them.
Yes.
But you can see, I've seen even demonstrations where really good dancing couples and the lady, the follow, will be blindfolded.
Oh.
And
it makes such a difference. I've just started taking tango lessons, and you go through and you change like partner 6 times, and there is such a difference with someone, the lead, knowing what to do. It is, okay, it's so smooth.
And they're thinking 3 beats ahead for you. It's not like something you just decide and we go here. You know?
Right.
And you have to do the same with a horse. I'm always thinking when I'm riding, if I'm doing it correctly, I'm thinking 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. I'm looking ahead and I'm thinking, let's pop into a canter. Not yet. How about now? We're going to turn here. Do you feel me shift? And then I'm watching my horse and her little ears are up, and all of a sudden I'll say something like that, and that ear will just kind of flick back to me, indicating that's where their attention is. Yeah.
So how did all this, I'm sure you're an incredible asset to bear. But can you tell me? No, it sounds like I mean, you know a lot of stuff. How did you start working with them?
Yeah.
I was fortunate to. Real quick backup. I also spent several years, about 6 years, managing a small show stable, private, and then later on a breeding farm. I got to do a lot of interaction with mares and foals, colt starts, which means just helping train them and stuff like that.
That's
handling
so cool.
the stallions, but again, my showing career is like non-existent.
Okay.
Non-existent. I mean, I had 8 times in the show ring. But so I did have that good background, and I rode for other people back in my high school days too, just working with their horses if they were having issues and trouble. But anyway, fast forward. So I had kids. I had my 4 kids. No horses at that point. Moved to Montana from Illinois. All my children were born here, so they're natives. I'm not. I'm an anchor mom.
You are an anchor mom. Love it.
And then eventually I was working, so I taught while I was still having with kids at home. I did start teaching guitar, and I started teaching Irish dance as well.
Oh, wow.
One of my students in both ended up a little bit later on. She was sadly involved in a horrific car crash, and she had sustained just massive traumatic brain injury, but other physical issues. Because of our relationship when she was healthy, her mom called and asked if I would come and be an aide for just a few hours, a couple times a week, something like that. She needed a boost, and she needed someone that she knew and trusted, and that was me. So one of the places I took her was to Sam's Riders, which was it Sam's Riders at the time? Yeah, I think it was. Anyway, this was a place that was run by Bob and Timmy Bermude, and this was out in the West Valley area. He had developed just some equine assisted, based on the horse's movement, some ways of therapy for different people with different things, autism, physical, emotional, things like that. It was the Wild West, and when it comes to therapeutic horsemanship.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Oh, yeah. There really wasn't any criteria. There wasn't any. He did a good job. He really did. Mm-hmm. He did things that now would raise an eyebrow in our realm because of the lack of certification.
Oh,
so he probably overstepped.
He just went on heart and feel, and
he did some wonderful things. He was quite old and in poor health.
Okay,
but I was taking her to her lessons there, watching what she was doing and what they were doing. And then I began stepping in and helping to volunteer a little bit, because what they were doing with her, and then actually another group took over from them when they became too ill to continue. Another group took over, and I just started helping out. I looked like their horsemanship maybe could use some help, and certainly what they were doing with her, she wanted more. They didn't know what to do. So I started working with her there as well. And that kind of got me started. As I learned more about it, I learned that there was an entity called PATH. That's an acronym for Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship.
Yep.
It's an international organization.
I read about that.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yes, and I decided I'm going to become a PATH instructor. So I took that on myself and started goofing with that. And in the meantime, my daughter, Catherine, she was Delby at the time, licensed now, and she is my youngest. She was also volunteering there, had gotten a job there, and the very long story short, this whole thing had been funded by Michael Goguen, Two Bear Capital and Two Bear Air and Two Bear lots of cool things. Yeah. He owned the property and he owned the business, and realized that a change needed to be made, and decided to put her in as executive director. And he said, "What do you need?" And she said, "I need my mom." And together we started in 2017 at that facility, which was fine, but it was modest, and it was in not as beautiful an area, but it was fine. It was fine. We were so lucky to be there. And we started with, we had 5 horses, I think, and had patched some things together, and we just started our style of horsemanship and of lessons, evolving as we went. But
it started just you and your daughter.
Yep.
That's awesome.
2 of us.
In a small patient population, right?
Very small patient population. At that point, we didn't have our PT working with us. We didn't have a psychotherapist working with us. It was just the 2 of us. So actually, you bring up a really good point. What I do is not therapy.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes. Thank you for that.
The clarification and the misconceptions between equine therapy and horsemanship.
Like adaptive horsemanship.
Horsemanship, yes. And I love that PATH puts that clarification on its website.
Yes.
And can you further expand on that?
Absolutely. Happy to do it. When we talk about therapy, we're talking about people with lots of letters after their names that have allowed them to be psychotherapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech pathologists. Those people with that level of education, they don't even do equine therapy, because that says, do the horses need therapy?
Exactly, yes.
So what they may do would be equine assisted therapies. Okay, so anytime you hear the word therapy, in our realm, we're thinking that is with a therapist, a real letter after the name person. What I do is therapeutic, which is an adjective, beneficial. Right? And so when we talk about therapeutic anything, that can entail anything from from adapting a riding lesson to someone perhaps that has physical or emotional or mental, disabilities of some sort. It can also be unmounted. It's because there are people that can't ride but still.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
So just being around the horse, interacting with the horse is a part of the experience and process.
Big part of what we do. But just real quickly, getting back to the therapeutic horsemanship part of it, we are adapting a lesson to that individual or to that small group so that it is going to be as beneficial to them as possible. But we also take into consideration all the time, constantly, of the effect this has on our horses. Because without our horses, we have no program at all. One of the things that we talk about at Two Bear Therapeutic Riding Center is it is therapeutic for all. That is the participant, their families, the staff, the horses, volunteers, and even the dogs that are running around, and even the property. It's got to be good. It cannot be at the expense of good for one, at the expense, the big expense of another.
How do you know if it's good for the horses?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Yes. Oh, they tell us loud and clear. So they don't come up to me and like, Sally, I gotta talk to you about little Timmy over there. By the way, we don't have a Timmy. Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine. I'm so curious because there's such a, and we're going to get into it because I want to know if you have a group, you have to create the centered goal.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then if you're looking at the horses in general, you obviously have their personalities to contend with. It's got to be hard for you to assess. But I want to go back and answer Kate's question before we go into that.
How do I tell?
Yeah.
It's quite something. First of all, we work with our horses a lot, so we do know them well. But horses speak a language, and it's pretty much universal. If I would go to Germany, they will speak the same language. Because it's not word driven, it's body driven. And we're the same way. Here, I'll give you an example. I'll do it to you. If I go like this, you feel one way. If I go like this, you feel another.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Horses are doing the same.
Let me just say, she smiled at me and then she pointed at me with her eyebrows
with
furrowing.
My teacher look.
Very aggressive.
My warning teacher look.
A furrowed brow.
A furrowed brow. Correct. Thank you for that. I forget we're on radio.
Yeah, it's okay. It's good.
Anyway, the horses will, if we allow it, it's very subtle, but it's always there. And because our horses know the staff really well, we all work with them. I'm going to say we are really good horsewomen. We're really good. And we teach our volunteers to at least notice these things as well, to the best of their ability. If I'm walking up to a horse and say they've got their head down and they're eating, and as I'm walking up, I'm 20 feet away. If I notice they're moving their head a little bit away from me, I'll stop.
Interesting.
Don't come into my space? Is that what you're reading?
A lot of times it's don't come into my space. Give me a minute. I'm uncomfortable. I'm not really sure what that looks like at that moment. But I do know this. When I stop and maybe even take a step back and maybe look away, often that horse's head will pop up. They'll look directly at me, and on occasion they'll even walk right up to me. And I think what's going on there is that incredible need that all of us have, and that's attunement. We need to be seen, we need to be heard, we need to be felt, and we need to get gotten, right? We need said, oh, you get me, right? So that's where we start with the horses, and that's not just with us, with staff. It's with our all of our participants as well, to their ability. Say I've got a horse, I've already brought maybe my participant that doesn't walk well. I've gone out into my big field, I brought the horse back in, and now we're in the arena, and I have them tied loosely. There's a way of attaching horses or tying horses called cross ties, where there's a rope coming from a wall on their right and attaching to their halter, another one on their left, attaching to their halter. And this is very safe for people around them because a horse can't turn their head to bite them, but it feels very constraining to a prey animal. We don't do that. A lot of times, actually, the horse won't even be tied. They'll have a halter and a rope, but we work with our horses so that we can drop the rope, and they pretty much stay there. If they start walking off, we'll grab them, bring them back. But they have a lot of say-so. We want them to be able to tell us no. Anyway, say the participant comes in, and the first thing that they want to do is come up and kiss on their noses, because they're so soft. They're like velvet, the softest thing ever. And very invasive to a horse. We don't do that to people. Hi, let me rub on your nose for you. What the participant will do, we'll stop them. We'll say, let's ask. Let's ask this horse to say hello. And the way that we do this is something that makes a lot of sense to a horse. We'll extend our hand out about 8 inches away from the horse's muzzle, and we'll do it with a fist, with our knuckles up, so that it looks a little bit like another horse's muzzle. The way they greet each other is muzzle to muzzle. They do that. They'll breathe and they'll blow out this beautiful warm air onto each other. And depending on how they're blowing, it'll say, I'm feeling like, who are you? Or it's, oh, there you are. Oh. That full range. Yeah. But the horses will tell us if they're not feeling it, because if this kid is walking up and say for whatever reason, they're just frustrated or they've had a bad morning or they just don't really want to be there or whatever it happens to be. And they're just standing there. Even if I'll ask them, do you feel like this horse is safe in your presence? In one way or another, however I can say that to that particular kid. And they'll usually say, oh, yeah, they're safe. And the horse sometimes will take their head and just like root away, quite a ways away from them, like, no, something's not matching up here.
Today's episode of the IWD406 podcast is sponsored by Electric. Hey, this is Kate. Electric is my stage name when I'm a singer-songwriter. Okay, now that we've established this, we can move on. I've created a songwriting challenge for you to write your first song or your next one. To find out more about the Songs Inside You challenge, visit songsinsideyou.com today. We need lots of music in the world. Please write more songs.
It's got to be constantly dynamic. I mean,
constant.
A dynamic relationship. So then you have to assess at all times whether or not, the patient is willing to work with the horse and the horse is willing to work with a dynamic relationship. So then you have to assess at all times whether or not, the patient is willing to work with the horse and the horse is willing to work with the patient. Right. And then you have to pivot, right? You have to bring another horse in that's willing, or you have to...
or you change the human behavior
response.
And that actually is so much more beneficial and therapeutic for them, because they realize, and most of them that are there really love horses. Mm-hmm. They want to be there because the horses are wonderful. And maybe they've had a preconception that horses are going to talk to you and with whinnies and snorts and paw and come up and pick up things for you and do things like we might imagine as a child that I would love a horse to do for me. Pick me up and put me on their back and gallop away, going wherever I decide, and forgetting that they have their own opinions about stuff. But if I can get this participant, and by the way, for us, they're not patients. And again, I'm just clarifying.
Okay,
no,
gotcha.
It's perfect. It's a participant because I'm not a therapist.
Okay.
Our therapists have patients.
Right.
I got participants. But anyway, with the horses, if I can get that kid or that adult to stop and to look and try and say, what is this horse telling you? This is a different language. This is nonverbal.
Right.
What are they telling you? And they're saying, well, they looked away. I said, yeah, what if I looked away from you as you're talking, what would that tell you? And they can usually let me know most of the time. And if they can't speak, then I just narrate for them.
Okay. That's so fascinating, because with nonverbal autism,
yes,
that's so important to I love that, because you're educating, you're teaching not nonverbal consenting, right? Because there's that energy. What other things come out of that? I mean,
you nailed one of them. Even for a lot of our participants that have perfect language, it teaches them, this is not all about you, dude. You are not the center of the universe, and you don't get to call this. This is going to be a partnership. How can you collaborate with this being? And I tell you what, we haven't had anybody that hasn't just got sucked into that. But the other piece, too, is I've got a couple of young men, some on the spectrum, and this also teaches them about consent. This is
That's huge.
Big
Powerful.
deal.
Yeah.
It is a big deal. One of the things that happens, we'll ask the horse, we call it the horsey handshake, put your fist in a little bit away from their nose. You can't shove it in their face. Let them come to you. And sometimes this takes, no kidding, a minute. And I say, just hang in there. Just wait.
Patience.
Take a big breath. I said, you wait for them. You're not going to force this. We are now a partnership. And then as soon as it happens, a huge change comes over them. Kind of that, you can feel them breathing it in. It's just so cool. And then let them sniff, and then the horse will go away. And then I'll say, give it a second, give it a second. The next thing the horse will show me is they'll often shift their weight, relax their jaw. They'll just start chewing. There's no food in there. They're swallowing. If I'm nervous, my jaw clenches, my mouth gets dry, mouth goes in a straight line. They're doing the same thing. They've come into an arena with two predators now, one of whom they know and they trust. So they feel safe, but they don't know about this other person. And if that person has waited for them, given them a minute, and done nothing to invade, they're saying, okay, you got the benefit of the doubt now. So then the next thing I'll do is stretch up your hand. We're not going to touch their faces. And we'll see how they feel. Hover it a little bit away from the horse's neck and see how they feel about you touching them. And so they'll do that. Sometimes the horse will lean away. Sometimes they'll stand. Sometimes they'll lean towards them. And I tell you that this is where I'll start to cry, and I'll do it several times today. But those are those moments where it's just lick, you got something else going on. You've got this collaboration. And again, I'll remind them I'll talk to anybody. If they're 11, I'm going to talk to them like an 11-year-old kid. I don't care if they said, oh, they're cognitively blah, blah. I don't care.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going in there? But I'll just say, you are speaking to another language. You are now talking horse. You know what it'd be like? It would be like this. I said, okay, imagine that you're traveling with your parents, and all of a sudden somebody very friendly just takes you and your parents and say, yeah, you go with them. And you get on a bus and you go to Zimbabwe. That's a stretch, but you go to Zimbabwe and now nobody speaks your language and you're wandering around. You don't know what the job is. You don't know the culture. You don't know the food, and you don't know where you're going to sleep that night. How are you going to feel? Like, ooh. And then I say, and what would happen if, and then all of a sudden you got lost. And now they're scared. Depends on the kid. Won't do this to everybody. But I said, how would you feel if over there you heard somebody speaking English that had a kind voice? How would you feel?
Right.
I said, that is what you are showing this horse right now.
Yes.
That's what you're showing them, because they don't speak our language. We need to try to speak with them. And then from that point on, that all translates to what goes on if this participant rides. As we're brushing, how does your horse feel about you brushing? How can you tell? We talk about their body language. We talk about equine communication. Some people call it equus, which is like it's Latin or it's Spanish or something. Some people call it equus. That's new for me, but I'll get it. And how did the horse feel? Can you imagine if you've got this child, say, that has been treated differently for a lot of their life because of whatever issues they're dealing with, and then all of a sudden, now they're out of that and into the horse.
And I love that too, because for that child, or for me even, like when the horse makes you feel like it's chosen you.
Yes.
Which is, like when you can be, like you were just saying, maybe you're alienated or something. And then now this horse is like, yeah, I like you.
Yeah,
I want to hang out with you.
Exactly. You know? And we've even had where we'll be walking out in the pasture, and I always go up. I have the halter that I'm going to catch the horse with. I have it draped over my arm in front of me. Full intention. I'm going in. I have a picture in my mind of my student, and I'll be walking up to the horse I've selected. We do this. We have our lesson notes and all this stuff, and I'll be walking up to that horse, and I'll still be 20, 30 feet away. Catch their eye, and I'll just say, "Would you help me with this child? Will you help me with this kid?" And most of the time, the horse will just, again, I'm noticing how they're feeling. Give them a minute if they need it. Be able to walk up. I scratch on them. I tell them how wonderful they are. Bring them on in. Once in a great while, not very often, that horse will look at me and say, nope, and they'll walk away. But when they do that, every single time another horse has walked up. And we have these magic lessons.
I just feel like you're just magic, Sally.
No,
I got the chills.
I think it's the communication that's so important, that you guys are meshed. It's awesome.
And this is not just me, by the way. So we have two other instructors there. We have Anna Siegel, we have Jackie Ruffley, and we have a huge amount of volunteers that are regularly go through training. A lot of this is taught. Catherine License, my daughter, she is a phenomenal horsewoman, gets all of this stuff. Leslie Hayden, who is our occupational therapist, Leslie, forgive me, physical therapist, pediatric physical therapist. And she is getting this as well. She was not raised as a horse person, but man, is she getting it. She's awesome. We all do the same thing. We're differently because we're different accents and stuff, but we all do the same thing. All just work with the horses in the same way.
Do you all have the same type of, I feel so calm in the studio right now. I always feel calm around Kate, but you guys, it's like just ready to go take a little bit of a nap on a hammock. But is everybody, I think it is a genetic thing. There's got to be something to it.
There's something, I haven't worked with a lot of different groups of people.
Right.
Just in the things that I've done a lot of solo stuff. And this is the first group that I've been with. And we have one more too, Erin Harapat. She's our office manager. But this group of people, I tell you what, it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy. We are all different flavors, different accents, all on the same page. And a few of the times where there might have been a little bit of, over the most minor things, a little bit of headbutting or something, it just goes, just disappears.
Yeah.
We're all on the same page. We have Therapeutic for all. And that means all of us all at the same time.
Wow.
And we work really hard to maintain that culture. We have he was our board president or chairman, excuse me, and he's just stepped down and another one's taken our place. By the way, our board, oh my goodness,
Susan,
to die for.
Yeah, Susan's awesome.
Susan,
so glad I got to know her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing, but he calls it the ecosystem.
Oh.
And I believe that all the way through. He's a cool guy.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So my other question is, I have so many, like my brain is just like exploding. I just want to so badly come and just witness all of it. And just be a part of it and see the magic that happens. My thoughts are, what's the impact on the family? Do they get an opportunity to come in and witness it and see what you get to see?
They are, I don't want to use the word allowed because I think that's, if they are welcome, as long as they're not disruptive. Mm-hmm. And it's very few that are disruptive. Sometimes, this is a funny thing that happens on a few times that we've have 2 lessons going on at the same time. The parents or the caregivers will become friends and they'll be in the arena and okay, go in the other room.
You
You're too
gotta
loud.
go.
You're too loud. But we have several times we have had people that will come in to the barn for the first time, and it's this gorgeous facility.
Oh, I'm sure.
Michael Gogan has, be on our ranch.
Yes.
We're not using it that much. You have got to be kidding me.
And it's amazing.
It is gorgeous. So gorgeous. So even just driving into the property, and it's beautiful property, driving and then coming into the barn, this gorgeous, it's not really a barn, I don't know what it is, venue. And then having one of the staff or volunteers look at the child, especially when I'm talking smaller kids especially, and say, hey, dude, how are you doing? And the parents burst into tears.
Oh.
Because for the first time, maybe in a while or for a long time, they don't have to worry about someone trying to get and accept their child. They don't have to worry about, they'll come in and be apologizing for, say we have a person on the autism spectrum, and maybe they're a hand flapper. Maybe they make funny noises. Maybe they grunt. Maybe they don't talk to you if you ask them something. The things that people with autism do, right? And I just look at them like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And make them cry right away. Because this is acceptance. It's just this acceptance for this person right where they are. We have had people with students or patients in Leslie's as a PT. Some of her patients are pretty impacted. These are children that can't walk. Some of them can't speak. Some of them can't grasp. And she uses the movement of the horse. She has her own clinic space, but she also uses the movement of the horse to really get some of these clinical goals that she has, right? And they're myriad, that they're amazing. She has noticed that some of her parents will come in. Some of them want to watch what's going on. Some of them going into our viewing room, which has a big window. You can see into the indoor arena, and a really nice couch.
Oh, nice.
A really nice couch. Like this couch cost more than my first couch.
Sure, right? Sure.
A really nice couch. And they'll go to sleep.
Oh, just take a break. Yeah.
Because they know their child is safe.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yes.
And for someone with a very fragile child, can you imagine? I can't. I don't know what that would be like. Mm-mm. We've had parents that have come in, and I always like, yeah, you're welcome to come in. And if the kid says, no, I don't want, I'm like, not your choice. Yeah. Who's the boss? It's Sally. Who's the other boss? Your mom. Who's the no boss? That's you. But we want you here, and let's learn about horses. And I've had parents that will say things like, this isn't horsemanship, this is parenting. And I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. Set a clear boundary.
Right.
Keep asking. Don't get angry. Keep a hold of your temper.
Yes.
And then ask again. There you are. See, they came through. And the mom is just like taking notes.
Yeah, of course. That's amazing. I love it. So what's the age of your participant population?
For us, it's 4 years on up. We've had people that are pushing 80. And
wow.
Yeah. And then if from 2 until 4, Leslie, if they qualify, because again, she is taking people as a therapist, if they qualify for her, that she can have goals and things like that for them, she can take them as young as 2. Earlier than that, it can be it's not healthy for their hips and for their pelvis.
Do you take participants that have had PTSD or trauma? Is that
yes,
another?
Absolutely. You bring up a great point. So in order to ride or do horsemanship lessons with us, and this is the adaptive horsemanship part of it, they don't have to have a diagnosis. Okay. What they do need to have is, because we are so highly subsidized by incredibly generous donors, because of that, we do limit it to people that they would have real difficulty being successful at a non-specialized center. But because of that. And we've even had some people that will come through. I've had adults that come through. Physically, they're just fine. Emotionally, mentally, cognitively, they're just fine. But they had a really bad experience on horses. Yes. And they want to get over that.
My husband. Oh, I should send him there.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. And so I'll usually do a short term of lessons with them.
Okay.
But we talk about horses are not just random. They're like, I was just riding along and out of the blue they did thus and so. I'm like, yeah, they probably didn't. It's a rare thing that will happen.
Right.
That way. But if you learn to read them, it's going to build that confidence. And do things still happen? Yeah. I got bucked off about a year ago.
That's what I was going to ask you, the unpredictability piece. How do you guys deal with that, especially with the type of participants that you're working with?
That is a really good question. One thing is we have very special horses. Yeah. They are not, you'll hear a term that said they're bomb-proof. Our horses are not bomb-proof. What that means is the bomb could go off and they go, No, that's not it at all. What they have, though, is implicit trust in their handlers. And so at this point now, a horse is a prey animal, and they are hardwired. This is factory-installed equipment that if something frightens them and it's sudden, pretty much that's motion or sound. One of those things, if it's big and something they don't know about, they are hardwired to move away from it quickly, and they are fast. They are really fast.
And big and heavy.
Yeah, big and heavy, all of those kinds of things. And whether they decide to move over 6 inches or 60 feet is going to depend on the temperament of that horse and also how they feel about their surroundings and their people. So with us, we have culled out the horses that are the 60-footers.
Yeah.
We have worked with them enough to where they realize that if something frightens them, the first thing that we get is their eyes. They're to us.
Oh.
Yep. They know they can trust us. A horse will still, on occasion, scoot a little bit.
So if they do get scared, do they immediately look at you as the handler?
Almost always, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Is that a training, or is that just
it's a relationship?
A relationship of knowing you are my safe person. What is this noise, and do I need? And they're watching you to see if you're reactive.
Very much so. Yep.
Wow.
And again, there's going to be exceptions, and it's always comes down to what. Okay, it's like us. Anybody afraid of spiders here?
Oh, yeah.
No. Okay.
Snakes are big for me.
Okay. Let's go with scorpions. Okay, let's go with scorpions. Not a big fan of scorpions.
Right.
Say I had a jar here, and it's a good jar, and it's got a scorpion in it, and I set it on the table. And that scorpion's not getting out of that jar.
Yeah, right.
You'd probably be like, but he's walking around and hitting it with his tail, just being a little scorpion guy. By the way, I'm not a scorpion fan. I know they're out there. I apologize, but this is my image. So say then, we're okay with the scorpion, barely. We're going to know. And then what would happen if I took the top of that jar off, the lid off?
It would jump
Then
out.
the fear is more real because it can come out and get me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Something like that. So for horses, is the lid on or is the lid off?
Okay.
How big is this? And at some point, even if it's irrational to us, that has nothing to do with the equine mind. Their minds are saying, if it is something novel, I don't know what that is exactly, and it is sudden, I am going to hardwired move away from it because that is a reaction. So how do we handle that with our participants? A lot of times we talk to them about this. These are flighty prey animals. Our horses are good horses. They have been around a lot, and we have done things that would be normal around them. Move quickly, flap a blanket,
so you try
noise.
and desensitize them, or
Yes.
here's a wheelchair. Here's
Always any equipment or things that we use, we have that going on. I'm up on the saddle with some of our horses, and I'm wiggling my arms and flapping and making squawky noises because we're going to get that.
Yeah.
And my whole point with that is to let them know there's nothing to be afraid of here. This is just business as usual. And so once they understand that, they're like, it's business as usual. But once in a while, you'll get something. This is one thing we deal with in the wintertime. We have this wonderful indoor arena with this great big roof. And when the snow decides to fall off of it, it all goes at once, and it sounds like a plane hit the building. There's not a lot you can do to train a horse to say, that's not going to hurt. This is, whoa, dude.
Yeah.
So when they're in that position, we'll actually cancel lessons or do all unmounted.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, that kind of a thing.
Yeah,
so
got you.
so there are steps that we take. Can we guarantee it? No, not ever. So that actually helps us, though, with our riders, because I'll say, if you sit up there like a big old bag of water, this horse scoots.
You're not ready.
You're going off.
Yeah.
So engage that core. Move with your horse. Don't have the horse move. You move with them. Now what's
Right.
happening? They're connecting again with the horse. Watch your horse's ears. Watch their body language. Did you see that head come up? They're concerned about something.
But not only that, they're mind-body connecting with themselves.
Yes.
So there's a lot of moving parts happening
And
all
lots
at
of
once.
focus and learning to recognize what your body does and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how my mindset, especially for some of I've got some participants with ADHD, so concentration is hard. I'm like, did you just notice your horse just wandered over here? Like, what was going on with you? Oh, yeah, I was thinking about grapes. I'm like, okay. So we have to say, you know what? There's so many things that improve the lives of our participants just by dealing with the horse being a horse.
Yes.
Yep. And we let our horses be horses.
Okay. I feel like moving to Montana, these types of opportunities are so amazing for people to take where I'm from, Illinois. So this is all very new for me. All this information that you're providing is so new for somebody like me that's listening in, because I have not been around horses my entire life, but and then knowing all the different types of therapies, this type of therapy seems it's a win for so many different areas.
Absolutely.
I feel like this needs to be readily available everywhere.
I would love it. And I would love it, again, with the caveat that there are still a lot of people and it's something actually that I am wanting to change in my lifetime. I'm in the fourth quarter here, age-wise.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my things that I really want to do is particularly, I've got to narrow it down, but educate like this, but also in the therapeutic horsemanship world, PATH, and there may be some others, is they're wonderful organizations that keep people safe. There's some great guidelines there. I appreciate them so much. And I'm involved with them too. I'm the ambassador for PATH for Montana, which means people that are in PATH can call me with questions and I can go, I'll find out for you.
She's amazing. Call her.
I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
But I want also, one of the things that we track a lot in accordance with PATH is riding and also driving. There's other things too, but particularly riding skills. Can this rider sit up unsupported on a horse? Can they walk? Can they hold reins on their own? These are check marks that we go through. Can they go through all of these kinds of things? I want to also add into keep that because it's important, but add into the attunement part because of the huge amounts of differences we are making in daily lives that are away from the barn.
Right.
They're away from the barn. I really want to change that. It's something I'm working on. I'll be speaking at my second conference, PATH conference in June. It'll be in Ellensburg, Washington.
Nice.
And these are for PATH. It's not hundreds of people or anything. Doesn't matter. I don't care.
No, but it still makes a difference.
Get the
and
word
I
out.
think you're right on that. Yeah.
Before we start talking about, and Kate, we're going to go into the whole event that's coming up in May for Two Bear. I have to ask you one question. If you had a highlight reel of the last, let's see here, you're 7 years right now with Two Bear Therapeutic Riding Center. 7 years of looking at the highlight reel. What would be the pinnacle highlight of your career thus so far?
Oh boy, the highlight. I have a highlight every day.
I'm sure you do.
I'm just going to pick one.
I bet you have a win board. Do you have a win board?
I don't, but I have one in my head.
Oh, good. I want to hear a great win.
One of my great wins was with a young woman, and she had pretty profound ADHD. And we were riding. She was definitely sweet as a day is long, but talk about a penny. Trying to keep this person on track with any conversation, you would lose her mid-sentence. But at the same time, I was noticing this jitteriness in her. So she was really smiley and she was very bubbly, but she had this jitteriness in her. It's anxiety.
Yeah.
She doesn't fit in and she knows it and she can't stop herself, she thinks. Did you know that ADHD is not a permanent diagnosis?
No, I did not.
How about that? It's a symptoms-driven diagnosis, right?
Yes.
Oh.
So if you have the symptoms of ADHD, you are going to be diagnosed with ADHD, as you should. Can get help, can get perhaps medications and things. That's all great. If you develop through medications and through various kinds of helps enough skills that you can manage this so that you no longer qualify for that diagnosis, you don't have it anymore.
Yep.
And there are a lot of things along those lines. Anxiety is another one.
Yep.
Periods of anxiety doesn't mean you have anxiety. You don't.
Okay.
So
Right.
anyway,
Makes sense.
so
Yep.
that's one of the ways that I'll approach this too, is I'm not going to cure her. That's not it. I want to give her skills. Anyway, there we were. And this kid is just all over the place. And one of the hard parts with a horse is they need you to think ahead, just like a good dance partner. They need you to think ahead because it's going from my brain, their brain, their body. That's a little lag time. And they're very quick at reacting, but they're not that quick. The other thing is that we've got reins attached to their heads. Now, we don't put bits in our horses' mouths because we don't want to do that to them. We want the riders to be thinking a little bit more. We just use halters and with reins. If we're
and the
using
bit
them.
is, it holds,
the steel.
it controls.
In the right hands, it is a finesse tool.
Oh, gotcha.
I can squeeze a pinky and my horse can feel it. Oh. It's a finesse tool. They are so sensitive.
Okay.
But in an unskilled person, not knowing that yet, they can be harsh and it can cause pain to my horse. It can cause that horse to brace up. And now all of a sudden they're protecting themselves. They're not communicating. Students are the same way, by the way. If we're harsh with a student, punish.
Yep.
So the reins on the halter, the horse is only feeling the rein on either side of its neck?
Correct. And they're also feeling the pressure on the noseband of the halter. But it's a very familiar feel to them. Yeah. And it's really hard to inflict. You can inflict pain. I can inflict pain on a horse. Sorry, I can do it. But done properly, it's a signaling tool. That's it.
Gotcha.
So anyway, this kid would be on this horse. The horse's name was Missy. Missy's gone now, but Missy was wonderful. And I was in what we call a round pen because it's round, pretty big, about 60 feet across. And I had 4 letters hung up on just for locations, hung up on at quarters on this round pen. And I said, okay, I'm just going to call her Bobby. It was not her name. Bobby, this is what I want you to do. We're starting at W. I want you to ride over to X over there and stop your horse. And so Bobby would just be looking all over and she'd be thinking about stuff. She'd go 8 feet past X, realize, and just haul back on the reins. And I said, okay, first of all, we don't treat our horses that way. But second of all, what were you thinking about? Which is, I just got distracted in the birds and I can understand it's beautiful. Let's try again. But this time, you be in it for the horse. You ambushed her. And she's being honest with you. How can you make her feel safe with you this time around? This is what I want you to do. When you're at W, I want you to look at the next letter, which I'll say T. I'd look at the next letter up and it's T. I said, I want you to think about stopping all along the ways getting to T. That, Missy, we're going to stop. Don't do anything yet, but we're going to stop. And then when you're at T, I want you to look exactly where you want her to stop by W. I said, so you're going to think about it, you're going to look. So you're preparing. I said, do not think about anything else. Don't ambush this horse. She's a love. You want to be with her. Yeah, I do. She loved horses. And I said, and if you get to W, right about there, I just want you to exhale, relax, and if the horse doesn't stop, just squeeze your hands. That's what I want you to do. And we'd already talked about this stuff, but this time I really, So here she is. She's riding again. I say, stay on task. You and the horse. Just you and the horse. And I can see her looking. So she's thinking about it. She gets to T. She's looking at it. And 2 steps before W, Missy stops. And this kid goes, I cry every time.
Oh.
Just this kid just goes, what just happened? I said, she heard you. She heard you. You slowed and she heard you. You didn't have to breathe out. You didn't have to pull the reins. You thought with her, can you do this with me? And parents reported she was only there for another term, which is 6, 7, 8 weeks, something like that. And then she was off doing something else. Parents reported that her ability to concentrate in school went sky high.
Oh, wow.
Something clicked with her that day that
goodness.
changed how she felt about things. Wow. That instead of being this busy, constant, and they also reported that she started sleeping better.
Oh, that's huge.
Yes, what a win.
Yeah. Think, look, ask. I mean, we say this all the time. It's one of our deals. We TLA, think, look, ask, and separate it. For a kiddo with autism, for someone dealing with ADHD, with anxiety, stop, slow, calm. I think about it. I look where I want to do it. Then I ask my horse. Man, it just does something for them. So that was one of my
Sally,
highlights.
That is amazing.
And that's beautiful to get the three-part instructions though too.
Right.
It's like boom.
Yeah. And just watching her change and that big inhale. You know how if you hear bad news, you know what we all do? We exhale.
Yeah.
But if we get good news, we inhale.
Yes.
We breathe it in.
What impact. Yeah. Seriously, you're amazing.
That horse did it. I told her how.
Right.
And that horse was just like...
But that patience and like that just watching and the allowance and instruction, all of it, what impact. It's really special.
Thank you for that. And it's what's the priority here? Is it sit up tall with your hands forward and stop your horse right there?
Yeah.
Or is it have this partnership? Know that's possible and control your own thinking, your own mind.
Right.
And doesn't that feel good? That's the other piece. Didn't that feel good?
Yes.
Do that again. Yes.
Oh, yes. With Two Bear Therapeutic, is there any special events coming up? Julie alluded to May.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us about the event that's coming up?
Absolutely. May 17th, put it on your calendars, is our annual fundraiser, our main fundraiser.
Is it every year?
It is now. This will be our third.
Okay.
So we just became we were an LLC when we first organized. That was at the behest of Michael Gogan. And we have become a 501c3. So we are a full-on nonprofit now. Excuse me. And our main event is called Campfires for a Cause. And it takes place at the barn. We transform... at the ranch, in the barn. We transform the indoor arena into something you got to see it to believe it. Just come. We have people can sponsor a full table of 8. I think it's 8. Oh, I should get with my numbers. 800, I think, per table. You can buy individual chairs, 125. There is a live auction, and just worth coming to listen to her. Jen, she's wonderful.
Oh, I
she's
love it.
wonderful.
That's rare to hear a live auctioneer as a woman. Sorry, I just have to throw that in because
it's
it really
amazing.
happened.
If she
Yeah,
lived here,
sure.
I'd be getting her in next because she is wonderful. She is wonderful, and she does quite a few nonprofits, and she is very gifted and just a hoot. I just love her dearly. We have live music. It's just a really good food. It's a wonderful time. This is what happens though. We have through Michael Gogan, we have a lot of our base needs taken care of. He is our main donor by a long shot. Where we do everything, he provides that. He provides for staff. He does that, but we've got a lot of other needs, so many other needs. And there are various things that people can do to support that. People have been unbelievably generous to us.
Oh, I love that.
Here I go again, sorry.
You're good. I wish I brought Kleenex.
That's okay. I got some around here someplace. I'll use my sleeve. Unbelievably generous when they find out and get a sense of and the feel. And here's something else that happens. I don't know why. They drive into that place. They come into the barn. I don't know what it is. We got the good juju going.
You do.
We're just
You
saying,
do.
man, this
do.
place feels really good. And it does. And so people have a variety of ways that can help. We've got some really cool, I don't have anything to do with this. Thank God for our board, wonderful board. I just show up and do stuff.
Right.
But we have wonderful things to bid on. We have wonderful programs. One of the things that we're trying to beef up a little bit more is our scholarship money. So based on need, yes, we do charge for our services. It is not anywhere near what it costs because of the subsidy. But we do have a good handful of students that without some help, they would find even the $45 a lesson to be prohibitive. And we want to make that easier on certain people. Nice. We do. Everybody pays a little bit.
Right.
We have noticed if you don't pay, they don't come.
Where can they donate? Just directly to?
To Bear Therapeutic Riding Center.
Okay.
And we have both a Facebook page and our website, twobeartrc.org.
Okay. And it will be in the description of this episode, so that way people can connect to it.
Absolutely. You can donate. Don't donate $2, 200, 20,000 is good too.
Yes.
We have some other things that are coming up eventually that we are going to be looking to help with. We have collaborations with a couple group homes actually out in the Mission Valley. They're helping us build this wonderful sensory trail that we've got going on. We have got just so many things going on. But our main event, May 17th, doors open at 5:30, and do come buy a table. That there are still some tables that are available. Buy a table, buy a seat. There's still some spots available, and that is online. You can register there.
Wonderful.
It is a wonderful time. We have summer camps.
Good.
And they will be beginning
fun.
in June. Again, this information will be on our website. And this is not just for people that have some special needs. We also have just open for lots of people. We have an adult one for And I don't know the criteria in that. I would love to just have one for those of us that want to come. I would teach it. I would love it.
I would love for you to do that.
Okay.
I want to sign up for that.
Okay, I will see what I can do.
Okay, please.
Don't make me do crafts. It's the only thing.
Do crafts.
But we have those going on, and we have continued physical therapy that is going on through the summer, especially, and all of these things are available on our website. You can take a look at that, including intake forms and any information.
But your main yearly event takes place in May.
May 17th.
Okay, and that's the big donation type fundraising event. Okay, perfect.
Campfire for a cause.
Yes.
And we have a beautiful spot for a nice campfire. And usually after everything is done, there's a little gathering out there on occasion. There's still a couple musicians. I'll pull my guitar out and I'll play and
love it.
And make people sing with me and stuff. So
how fun.
It's so much fun. So much fun.
This.
And a beautiful place.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I cannot wait to see it.
Yes.
Awesome. We're going to go ahead and transition into our last 3 questions. Yes. And this one's a kind of a fun one. If you could do it all over again, would you pursue the same career? Why or why not?
That is a great question. Yes, I would. Part of me, as I was looking at these questions, and I appreciate that you gave me them to look at ahead of time.
Yeah.
Part of me wishes I would have done it way sooner. And part of me knows that I wasn't ready. So I have to accept where I am. And even though, like I said, I'm in the last quarter here, age-wise, I've got really good health. I have a lot of energy. I'm so thankful for that. But I realize that my ability to hand over a lot of the things that I wanted to do, I'm not going to be able to do. I'm not going to have the time. So I'm handing that over, hopefully, with a little bit of mentoring, just whatever the heck I do at the ranch, education, things like that I can be handing that off to our incredibly capable, fabulous staff, and they're going to take that and continue on. Do they need me? I don't think so, but I'm going to say that, they
Sally, you're a legacy. You're a legacy.
I'm a something.
You are.
Thank you. But yes, I would totally do it again. And my plan is, I keep thinking, maybe I'll retire someday. I'm like,
it's too much fun, it sounds
it is
like.
way too much. I get to work with my daughter, beautiful place, horses, and all these awesome people. I get to do this.
You are living your dream.
Oh, man.
Isn't that amazing? And don't you wish, though, we were just having this conversation the other day, it's like we're badasses going into our 50s and 60s. And I just wish, where was this version of me 20 years ago?
That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes.
Because it's time now.
It's time.
Not only that, this is where, how many of us have had somebody say to us the stuff we know now, and when they were 30 and just say, oh, honey, this shit doesn't matter.
I wish. Sure. Yeah, I
wish.
That. I didn't have that.
I didn't either.
No. So let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it here. That's what we're trying to do through this platform. So thank you.
Yeah.
Sharing wisdom is so important. Yeah. And I'm so impressed by you, Sally. It's such amazing.
Yes, you've been a good day.
Awesome.
Okay, here's another question for you. If you suddenly gained the enchanting power to chat with horses, what burning questions would you ask them?
Oh my goodness. This one, I could go on and on, but I think the main one, every time I'm with them, this is what I want to ask them. What can I do for you?
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, Sally. See, that's why we love you. You're just beautiful.
They do so much for, I think about it from the get-go. I was around babies when they were born, horse babies when they were born. I taught them their first manners. I've done this kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
I was the first one to get on a bunch of them. Not a lot. Some people that do this for a living, that's different. I probably started maybe 16 horses, first one to ride, stuff like that. Anyway, and I would hope that the person I was then, that I'm a lot better now, but I didn't do a lot with force because part of it was just like, you're stronger than I am.
Yeah,
Gotta figure out a different way. But the thing is I'm always asking them, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. Come in with me, help me with the student, let me get on your back, stand here quietly. Yes, I'm noticing how you feel. I'm noticing how you're feeling, but you need to do this for me. You're a working horse. Now, that is reality. Our horses are working horses. They have a job to do. And if they're really telling me no, we will swap them out. We'll get a different horse. And we'll try and figure out why that was. However, when do we ever say to them, what do you want?
Yeah.
What can I do for you? And I try and have little snippets of that every time I'm riding, where maybe I'll just put my rein. I'm already sitting on their back, But I give them some choices along the way. I'll hold the head stall out. Can you put your nose in there if you're feeling it? Can you do that? Oh, I had one thing happen. So we have 2 horses that have just come into the program. They're retired from Two Bear River Ranch, which maintains its own horse. It's horses. It's on the same property, but that's for Michael Gogan, for his family, for his friends, and they're separate from us. But 2 of the horses, great big draft horses, big Belgians. These suckers, I can't see over their backs. They're huge, great big guys. Well, they're older, and they've retired them from pulling the big heavy sled and stuff like that. So we were asked, couldn't you use them in your program? We're saying, let's see. And the answer is a resounding yes. One of them, his name is Roy. Roy's my boy. Now, they haven't been ridden a lot. These are pulling horses. And because of that, they don't understand how a rider's reins work. They don't understand how a rider's legs work. But we've already started to goof with them, and they're friendly horses. They're very sweet. They're very friendly. And to the point where Anna and instructor Anna and then my daughter Kat, very good horsewomen, when we first were playing with them, we had them in the indoor arena. And we're walking with them and making sure they feel comfortable in there. No halters on them, nothing, no ropes. They're just in this arena. It's like a big playpen. They can't go anywhere. But Anna got up on a mounting block, so she's up a little ways. And sure enough, here comes one of the horses. His name is Crown. And he just parked up next to her, right next to her. And so she's scratching on him. And she's leaning over his back and stuff. And he's, yeah, whatever. So she hops up there.
Oh.
Yeah, she's got nothing on this horse. No halter, no rope, no nothing. She's just up there. And again, this is a very gifted horsewoman. She's done a lot on horseback.
Okay.
So and she knows how to slide off a horse too.
Okay,
Something happens,
gotcha.
she can come off. And all of a sudden he's walking around and the other horse looking at him like, you got something on your back. And then Kat just sees this is too much fun. And so she climbs up on the mounting block and sure enough, here comes Roy. And he parks and she hops up on him. And then they spend about 5 minutes letting those horses just walk around together. They're both looking at each other. You got something on your back. But because these 2 young women who love horses and are just saying, go where you want, buddies, and they're scratching and loving on their necks and just being peaceful and just giving them, yes, I'm sitting on you, but you get to do what you want. I'm not going to stop you. Yeah. And they just walked all over, calm and relaxed. This is weird, but they just did that. And anyway, and then after 5 minutes or so, the horses stopped for a second where they wanted to. And the young women just gave them little scratches and loves and slid off. And the horses were like, what? That was really weird, but nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
What a great first experience.
Exactly.
Yes. There you go.
Yep. So I had the same thing with Roy. This last Friday. I was out. He loves scratches. He just makes these funny faces. He's an awesome horse. And did something not terribly safe. They both had helmets on, by the way. Gonna admit,
okay,
I was being an idiot. This is me and my risky childhood.
Yeah,
coming to play. But anyway, I'd been scratching him, and he just didn't want to leave. So he's outside. They live outside, and so I crawl up on the fence, and I'm scratching him, and all of a sudden he comes over and he parks right next to me, and I'm looking at him. I was like, is it okay if I climb up here? And he's in a big field now with other horses. So I'm thinking, what would I do if?
Yeah,
it's like I'd slide off, hold on to his mane and slide off. I've done that before, and he has no reason to want to hurt me. The only thing that might happen is I might scare him, and that would cause a reaction, or something might scare him. Anyway, I'm scratching on him, and I'm leaning over and patting, doing the thing, flip the leg up there, and he's like, yeah, okay. And so I'm just sitting up on him, and I'm just telling him how much I love him. Oh. You're letting me sit up on you. Aren't you just the coolest thing ever? So rather than saying, well, of course you should, you're a horse, I'm thinking, what an honor.
Yeah.
And I reached down and gave him more scratches and everything. And then I slid off and he's like, yeah, cool. Followed me around for a little while and then I had to go home. But
wow. Seriously.
Yeah. Horses.
Oh my gosh.
Horses.
Now I want a horse in my backyard.
Yes, you do. Everybody does not know this.
Yes.
But yes, they want a horse in their backyard.
Yes.
But they want a horse with more space than that. But anyway.
Oh, I love it.
Come and see us.
I'm planning on it. So yes, we're planning on it.
I saw it. So
that's awesome. Yes. Awesome.
Okay, we're on the last question. This is the one where we pass the mic. Yes. Which woman would you like to see highlighted on the IWD406 podcast? And what makes her an inspiring choice?
This was a tough one. This was a really tough one. It was like 50 of them, and I called down. And I was thinking, like, everybody in my organization, but I want to spread it out a little bit more. And actually, Leslie Hayden, who is our pediatric physical therapist.
Okay.
She does not just work with us. She's worked in the school system 30 some odd years. She is, I don't think she would mind me telling this, she was adopted. She adopted her son, who is on the autism spectrum. She has a variety of, to talk to her, you would say she is the most humble person on the planet. She is brilliant. Oh. She is just brilliant. And she has the most enormous heart for people, for children especially, that would struggle so much more if they didn't have her in their lives. I would love that she would be one. And I asked her, and she says, I don't have anything to say.
We'll pull it out of her.
So
but I'm sure she will.
Yeah, my response was, shut up, she explained. Right?
Yes.
No, she is a wonderful person. And I'm honored to work with her. We talk about the hair tangle all the time. I'll be working in the arena with her. If she's working with a patient, she has to have one of staff in with her. That is just to keep everybody safe and let her concentrate, do her job.
Right.
And we often have another volunteer in on the other side. So she'll be walking next to the horse, either hands-on or right next to her patient. There'll be a volunteer often on the other side in case this patient needs quite a bit of support. And it's not always, but often me that I'll be leading the horse and making, so she says, they're really leaning to the left. And I'll have suggestions of how the horse's movements could be used to help that child maintain more stability on that side. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Teamwork.
Yeah, but she also gets into the connection part with the horses because she sees the difference it makes for her participants, or for her patients, excuse me.
Wow.
Oh, she's awesome.
I'm looking forward to talking to her.
I am too.
Yeah, and her son rides with us too.
Nice.
Oh, wonderful. Sally, this has been such a beautiful conversation, and every little tidbit of it, I just got so much to take away from today, like to think about. And I'm just so inspired by you. You're just really remarkable. So you are a gift, and thank you so much.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for this awesome platform. Keep rocking it. And we're
going to try.
Let me know how I can help. If you want me back blabbing more, I'd be happy
we
to do
will
that.
for sure make that happen. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
A special thank you to our podcast guest. You can find all of her links in the description of this episode. If you like what you heard, please hit subscribe. You will be notified of future podcast guests. Follow us on our social media platforms and stay tuned for our next podcast chat with an amazing Montana woman.